Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, January 12th. Slowly starting to get back to being a pretty regular week. There's about 350 albums coming out this week. I got 12 on the list for today. A bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, we're kind of slowly getting back to a regular release schedule. Over the last couple of weeks, it's been a little more limited. It typically is, towards the end of the year, the beginning part of the new year. But we got some Rhino Start Your Year Off Right stuff coming out this week. There's some new releases. There's some really good looking reissues also. Like I said, there's about 12 albums I'm going to talk about on the list show today. There's something I don't talk about. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they're all available online. I'll put links down below in the comments if you want to pick them up. One reissue that I'm really looking forward to this week is Alice in Chains' Rainier Fog. First released back in 2018. It was their 6th studio album. It's going to be on Smog Vinyl. It's going to run you about $35 online. This is a really good album. Is this the same? So this is I guess I should say that this is the 3rd album that Alice in Chains has done with William Duvall on vocals. Shares the duties with Jerry Cantrell, even though I think Jerry Cantrell sings lead on most of the tracks. I think it's a really good album. It's charted really well. It was met with really positive reviews. Is this the same Alice in Chains as what it was with Lane Staley? No. But I do love some of the tracks on this album. It's a really good album. And so this is one this album was kind of cool because it was like at least partially recorded at Studio X in Seattle, which is where Alice in Chains recorded their great self-titled album back in 1995, which is an album I would love to see get an anniversary release. Hopefully by next year we'll see a reissue of it because it's an album I've been wanting for a long time. But hit number 12 on the Billboard charts. Like I said, it's one that if you haven't checked it out, it's definitely one worth going back and revisiting. So I'll definitely grab a copy of that this week. And then you also got this Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway coming out this week. Released back in 1974. It was also their 6th studio album. It's a 4 LP, 45 RPM pressing. It's part of the Atlantic 75 series, so Atlantic Records has gone back for the 75th anniversary, released a bunch of stuff over the last few months. This thing's going to run you about $150 online, though. I know this is the last time with Peter Gabriel. I'm not the biggest Genesis fan, especially the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis. But this is definitely one of those albums I'll go back through and randomly listen to every now and again. It charted really well. It hit number 40, I think it was 41 on the Billboard charts. I got it here written somewhere. Yeah, hit number 41 on the Billboard charts here in the U.S. It's this really interesting tale. If you go through the whole album, it's a story of a young Puerto Rican. He goes through these bizarre adventures in New York. Like I said, it's really kind of cool to go back through and listen to. But $150 is just a lot for this album, especially since I was just at my local record store a couple days ago. They had a pristine used copy of it for I think it was like $14 or $15. So it's a tenth of the cost of what you're going to pay for this new release. But if you're a huge Genesis fan, if you really love this album, it might be a cool one to check out this week. There's a couple of interesting jazz releases coming out this week. The first one is McCoy Tyner, Today and Tomorrow, released back in 1964. This is part of the Verve By Request series. It's pressed at Third Man Records here in Detroit. All the Verve By Request series releases always have really great reviews. I'm sure this is going to be the same. So there's 2 different versions of this that are coming out. There's a standard black version. It's going to run you about $30. And then there's a yellow pressing, and it's going to run you about $40. And it's kind of weird because you don't see a whole lot of jazz releases being released on colored vinyl. I know, I think a couple of Coltrane albums have been released that way. I think maybe Kinda Blue by Miles Davis has been released on colored vinyl also. But outside of those big releases, you don't see a whole lot of them coming out that way. But so this was recorded in 2 sessions, 8 months apart. If you listen to the album, it has kind of a different feel across the album because the first half is recorded, I think it was a sextet he recorded the first half with, and then it's just the trio for the second half. So you got that different sound between those 2 sessions. Bunch of great musicians on here, though. You got Jimmy Garrison, John Gilmore, Thad Jones, Butch Warren, Elvin Jones. Like I said, just some really great musicians from that time period. Kind of seen as one of the jewels of McCoy Tyner's career. It's a really great album. I've streamed it a couple times. It's been a while since I've listened to it, though, but I don't have a physical copy of it. So I'm definitely going to grab a copy of that this week. And then you got Thelonious Monk getting reissued. So this came out back in 1965. They're calling this a 60th anniversary release. but it's really the 60th anniversary of it being recorded. If you're going to do an anniversary release, just wait till next year. Next year is technically the 60th anniversary of it. So this one's going to run you about $35 online. This is a silver and black marble version. I know I just said you don't see a whole lot of jazz albums being released on colored vinyl. This is a little bit different though. So this is a music on vinyl release. Music on vinyl, when they first release an album or first reissue an album, it's always limited. This one's limited to 1,500 copies. It's always on colored vinyl. It's one I don't have in my collection. I do love this album, but I'll probably wait till a standard black version of it comes out. So you get there's some jazz standards on here. There's also some original stuff. I'm a huge Thelonious Monk fan, so it's definitely one I'll grab. But like I said, I'll probably wait till a standard black version comes out. The next album is one I'm not really sure what's going on with this release, but I'll check it out if it's coming out this week. But this is Bring Me the Horizon, Post-Human Next Gen. This is a new release from the band. It's part 2 of a 4-part series that they started back in 2020 with survival horror. So this release, I guess I should say, it's also going to run about $30 online. But with this release, it was supposed to come out in September of last year, and then it got delayed till the end of the year. And now on Amazon, a couple other websites, one of my local record stores all has it listed for this Friday. But if you go on Bring Me the Horizon's website, they have pre-orders up and it says summer 2024. So I'm not 100% sure it's coming out this week. It's supposed to be a return to heavier sound for the band. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan, but I'll definitely stream it and check it out whenever it gets released. And then the next one's a reissue that I'm definitely looking forward to grabbing a copy of this week. This is the Raconteurs, Consolers of the Lonely, released back in 2008. It's their second studio album. It's going to run you about $37 online. It's a double LP. I think this is widely regarded as their best album. I definitely consider it their best album. It's got a different energy than a lot of the other stuff that the band's done. Even though I don't think the band has released a bad album, I liked everything that they've done. But there's an energy on this album that I just don't think is on their other stuff. It's of course it's a band fronted by Jack White, so you're always going to have that tie to all the other stuff that Jack White's done in his career. It's a great album though. It's definitely one that, if you're not familiar with the band, it's definitely a great album to check out if you're interested in digging into their music. And they're also one of those bands that, whenever anyone talks about rock music being dead, I always point them to, this is one of the bands I point them to, saying, look, there are bands out there that are doing great rock music, and this is one of the examples. So it's, like I said, definitely one I'm going to grab this week. You got the new album from Kid Cudi coming out this week. This is Insano, at least I think that's how you pronounce it, as Insano. It's his ninth studio album. It's a 2 LP release. It's on Beyond Translucent Red Vinyl. It's going to run you about $38 online. It's one that, I'm kind of interested in. I like a lot of Kid Cudi stuff, but I'm not, when it comes to like his full albums, they're kind of hit or miss for me. I either like them or I can really do without them. So I'll add this one to my to be stream list for this weekend. But so with this album, this is supposedly a really heavily inspired by his experiences on the road during the to the Moon tour. And really he was supposed to retire last year after he released Intergalactic. That was supposed to be his last album, and then he was going to retire. Now he's releasing this one, so I'm not really sure what the future holds for Kid Cudi, but like I said, I'll definitely stream that one and check it out this weekend. And then there's a reissue that I'm definitely looking forward to. This is Jhene Aiko, Sail Out, released back in 2013. This is her debut EP. It's going to run you about $28 online. If you're unfamiliar with her, so way back in, I think it was 2000, or what year I've got on here. So it was 2003. She was under contract with Sony, so she was like 15 years old. Under contract with Sony, recorded a whole debut album. The label just didn't like it, decided not to release it, and then she had a dispute with Sony and asked out of her contract. Like I said, she was like 15 years old at this time. So after that, she finished high school, went to college, was really out of music for several years. And then in, I think it was 2011, she made a mixtape. Mixtape started getting kind of popular, got the attention of Def Jam. Def Jam signed her to a deal, and she released this EP. It's a great album. It's got some really great features on here. You got Kendrick Lamar on here. You got Vince Staples, Childish Gambino. The track with Childish Gambino is, I think, easily my favorite track on this album, but overall it's really good. I think this is the first time it's ever been available outside of a picture disc. I have the picture disc release of it. Really doesn't sound all that great though, so now it's being released on black vinyl, so like I said, I'll definitely grab a copy of that this week. So every January, Rhino Records does a series called Start Your Ear Off Right. The first releases came out last week. There's a whole lot of them though, so I didn't go over them in the new release video. There's only 2 of them for this week, so I'll go over both of them. They're both from the Grateful Dead. They're both albums that I'm Kind of on the fence about the first one. I'll definitely grab the second one, though. The first one was Terrapin Station, released back in 1977. And it's their ninth studio album. It's going to be on emerald green vinyl. It's going to be about $25 online. It's newly remastered by David Glasser. It's an album that, it's a little bit more ambitious, I think, than anything else that the Grateful Dead had done up until that point. As far as their 70s albums go, I'm not a huge fan of their studio albums, but it's definitely one that, like I said, I'm kind of on the fence about. I need to revisit it. It's probably been 20 years since I've listened to it. It sold really well. It hit number 28 on the Billboard charts. Like I said, seen as one of the better albums of that decade. And then the second one is definitely one I'm going to grab. The second one was the album that initially got me into the Grateful Dead when I was a kid. So this is In the Dark, released back in 1987, so I would have been, 8 years old when this album came out. Their 12th studio album. This is going to be on silver vinyl. It's going to run about $25 also. Also newly remastered by David Glasser. This was their first number one album. It was also Touch of Grey is on this album. Touch of Grey was their first number one single also. It's even though this album is known for that one track, there are a bunch of other really great ones on here. Like I said, $25. It's a really good album. Even not being a big Grateful Dead fan, it's definitely one I'll grab this week. The next album's pretty interesting because it sounds really fascinating. I'll definitely stream it and check it out, but I don't remember anything being talked about this album when it was released. But this is Lou Reed, Hudson River Wind Meditations, released back in 2007. It's his 12th and final solo album. Of course, he would go on and do Lulu with Metallica in 2011, before his death in 2013. But this is a 2 LP release. It's going to run about $43 online. I'll stream it and check it out. $43 I think is a lot for what this album is. It's very different than anything else Lou Reed ever did in his career. This is an ambient meditations album that he did, which, like I said, very different than anything else. If you know Lou Reed, very different than anything else he did in his career. It's ambient music. That's why I said $43 I think is a lot for me to pay for this. I'll definitely stream it. There's definitely situations where I love having some ambient music on. Who knows? Lou Reed, like I said, I didn't hear anything about this album when it came out. So, like I said, I'll definitely add that to my list to check out this week. And then the last one on the list is Chicago 10, released back in 1976. It's their 8th studio album. I know, 8th studio album, but Chicago 10, but that's because there's a greatest hits compilation in there and a live album, so it kind of throws off their numbering a little bit. But this is going to be on gold vinyl. It's going to run about $37 online. Kind of widely seen, I think it's kind of widely known as the Chocolate Album. Won a Grammy, actually, for best packaging. As you can see on the artwork here, it's a candy bar on the album cover, but it's a great album. I'm not the biggest Chicago fan. I grew up listening to Chicago. My parents were big fans of the band, and this is probably one of my favorite albums of the band. It was their first platinum album. It sold really well, hit number 3 on the Billboard charts. It had their first number 1 single on there. Like I said, just a really good album, even though it's kind of a poppier album, a little bit more radio-friendly album for the band. And, I think it really kind of worked on this one, even though they kind of did do some of that a little more moving forward, and it wasn't as successful as this album. It's, if you're not a big fan of Chicago and you want to start somewhere, I think this is a good album to start at. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. I'm definitely going to grab the Alice in Chains. I'll probably grab the McCoy Tyner also. Jhene Aiko I'll definitely grab. I'll probably grab one of those Grateful Dead albums also. I'm kind of on the fence about some other ones, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.